Have you
Hi.
had your exit with Steve?
No, I haven't yet. Sure, he was busy, obviously, with coaching and coach's decision and all that stuff. So he knows I'm in town for a while. So I'm sure he'll reach out to me at some point.
Is there? I would guess there's interest on your part in staying.
There is, my family and I, we really like it here. I feel comfortable at the rink, on the ice. So for me, it'd be my number one choice. But that all depends on where Steve wants to head next. If he wants to keep me, or he wants to try somebody else. But I definitely like to stay here.
Do you like? I mean, this season kind of, 5 guys went into COVID a week into the season. Bertuzzi was gone by the end of January. I mean, do you like what you're looking at going forward, that if there's better health and, some new guys coming in for next season, that you guys can be more competitive than what you showed this season?
Definitely. I believe that we were much better than last year. And like you mentioned, obviously COVID, I thought we had a good start. We felt pretty good about ourselves from training camp, and COVID hit, and we kind of lost our confidence as a group there when we lost that many guys. But I thought we battled hard till the end, and I can definitely see that we're heading in the right direction.
Next up, Ansar Khan, MLive.
Yeah, hi, Jonathan. 3 years ago, I think when you signed with the Red Wings, you knew that the direction the team was headed, going into a fairly lengthy rebuild. Just wondering how you balance your desire. I'm sure everybody has a desire to play for a winning team, a team that's playoff ready. How do you balance that as compared to playing for a team that's in a rebuilding process?
You know what? When I signed, obviously, I'll be honest with you, I didn't see Zetterberg retiring that year, but I knew they were going to that stage. But it's a great challenge, as a goalie, especially you can make that rebuild faster if you're playing well and you get some wins. But to me, I lived it in Toronto, and the one thing that I regret is going through the pain, but not being there when they're getting better. So for me, that's one of the reasons why I want to stay here, is all the pain that we went through the last couple of years. I finally see that we're getting better. We got some great young guys, and obviously Larson, it's still fairly young, and I can see that we're heading the right direction. So I'd definitely like to stay here and see the process and towards the end too.
Just how encouraged were you this year, just by the defensive improvement?
Yeah, I thought Steve made some great signing to bring some veteran in the back end, and obviously it was maybe a little tougher after the deadline, but losing Nemo and Johnny. But I thought we were a lot better than last year defensively, and that comes from our forwards too. Buying into a defensive structure as well, and helping our D. It's not always, we always say, oh, your D is weak, but I think it's a unit of 6, I guess, that makes a big difference on the ice. So I thought our forward, they back check hard and they play much better defensively. We're out of our zone quicker, and that way you're not overtired, and then you just got to chip it in and change, and then they're coming back into your own zone. So I thought we were better at getting out of our zone with better D making that first pass, and we were able to spend a little bit more time in their zone.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Next up, Max Bolden with The Athletic.
Hey, Jonathan. I'm just curious, the expansion draft happens later this summer. I think that could seems like maybe that could slow down some of the clarity on a lot of guys, especially ones who would want to re-sign with their current teams. Is that kind of your expectation, that you might have to wait until that finishes to really get to work on anything? Or how do you expect that factoring in, I guess?
Yeah, I could. That's a very possible. At the end of the day, that's why as players we have agent and they do the work for us. And like I said earlier, I'd like to stay here, but if it's not the right fit for me and for the organization, I'll go somewhere else. But that's hockey. I've moved quite a bit in my career, and I'm used to it, and it's not the end of the world. But it could, like on your question, it could probably take a little longer for sure.
How do you feel like you've grown the most as a player and as a person in 3 years in Detroit?
I kind of went through in Toronto where it got to me when we were going through the rebuild and losing a lot and all the pressure that you put on yourself to win games. And I think I grew from that point on, and I brought that experience here where I kind of blocked that and I just play my own game instead of getting frustrated if you lose 2-3 games in a row or things like that. So I think I'm a better player because of that. Mentally, I'm stronger, and obviously, as you age, you get more mature, and you know how to handle a situation better.
And then, as you talk about kind of the rebuild progressing, any of the young guys this year catch your eye, or you really noticed progress out of any of them?
To me, obviously, he was here not for a long time, but I thought Joe was very good for the games that he played for us. I didn't expect that, but for me, he was a great two-way player, and I feel like in this game now, it's hard to find. Like it's all offense, and you got to put up points. But those are the guys that, if they're willing to play both ways, those are the guys that you're going to win championship cups with, because everyone's going to feed off that. And I thought Ras really improved this year's confidence, bring the puck through the middle. He really showed what he can do.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Next up, Ted Colfield, Detroit News.
Hey, Jonathan, leave it to the goaltender to have the cleanest, coolest background there, I tell you. Hey, just your relationship with Greiser. It seemed, we weren't able to go obviously to most of the practice stuff, but it seemed like you guys had good chemistry and good working relationship. Would that be accurate or what?
Yeah, definitely. I'm an easy guy, and he's definitely is. So we got along very well, and same with Jimmy and pretty much my whole career. I get along with my teammates, and but Greiser's a great guy. Yeah, definitely.
Hey, were you pretty happy to see Blash get brought back?
I was. I'm sure a lot of people had their opinion on it, but I really like Blash. I think he does a really good job of teaching the young guys. And, for me, he gave me the opportunity to play last year way more. And, I got to give it to him, right? At the end of the day, it's how much your coach wants to play you. And he did that last year. And I kind of, took the reign last year and went from it.
Hey, so what are you going to be looking for if you get to that closer to the free agent market? What if some team says, look, we want you to be the number one guy, played most of the games? Here you don't know, and maybe it'll be split like it was. Is that something that might be important if you do get a lot more playing time somewhere else?
Well, I definitely, I play hockey to not sit on the bench. So that's definitely my goal every year, is play as many games as possible. Unfortunately, this year I got a few setbacks from injuries, but I felt my game was good when I was playing, and especially the game I got hurt at home against Dallas. I thought my game was really going up from there, and unfortunately I got hurt. But I feel when I'm healthy, I can play a lot of games and play some really good hockey.
Hey, last one. Your name was out there obviously a lot in the trade rumors. Did that kind of play tricks on your mind for a few days there, right around there, just not knowing where you're going to be at that point?
Yeah, it definitely does. And especially I think that the fact of COVID and probably not see my family for a while. We're human and we have feelings, but at the end of the day, I was happy that I stayed and finished the season here, and that means Steve probably just didn't want to give me for less than what he was thinking I was worth. And you know, I was obviously, like you said, like probably a week before it, I was starting to get a little bit to my head.
All right, I lied. One more quick one. Did you watch the Washington game last night when the young goalie made Samsonov kind of, I don't know if it was his screw up, but it looked like Ovi kind of went off on him a little bit on the bench. Is that tough for a young goaltender like that in that type of situation? Or, I mean, I was just curious. I mean, what was like a veteran goaltender like you, what's your feelings on that?
Yeah, it's a tough play because it was sometimes when you only have one forechecker like this as a D-man, you rather go and pick up the puck, and that way you can use the net to shield the players. So, you know, maybe it was the lack where he waited maybe a second or two behind the net that maybe he thought he was going to play the puck, and Schultz took a different route, and it's unfortunate, you know, especially in overtime like this.
Did you text Mel it out? He was sitting next to Ovi, I guess.
Probably got scared a little bit with that stick there.
Hey, Jonathan, thanks for this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next question for the record, JordanWings.com.
Hi there, Jonathan. I know that you've been through free agency before, and I'm kind of curious. I know all the times are different and all that, but like on July 22nd, the day after the expansion draft, do you think your phone's going to be flooded with people talking to you? Or during the course of this summer, will you get, through your agent perhaps, an indication of what the market is like for you? Is there, even though I don't know if they officially can talk to you, but through the grapevine, how does this thing really work?
Well, obviously first you gotta see with your current team and see where they're at with your situation and see if they're interested in signing you. If they're not, sometimes some GMs would let you kind of just get on the field and see if there's some interest out there. And but yeah, it's tough to talk to teams before the deadline. You know, you might start talking to teams like a day ahead or the day off, but obviously you're not really sure on where you can end up and what the market value would be for, let's say, for a goalie. You know, some years it's really strong, some years it's not.
I know through some of your social media posts and some of the things that you've said during these press conferences that you do like it here in Detroit. I'm kind of curious, do all your buddies and people say, why do you like Detroit? I mean, us that are from here, you know, we always, you know, hear horror stories like, oh, wow, you're from Detroit. Wow, you know, they almost shriek in horror. What is it about Detroit that you like so much?
Definitely Original Six. That's always special to play for a team like that. Lots of history, and it's a great organization. The setup we have at the rink, it's amazing. The way they treat us, and great group of guys. That makes a big difference. You know, when you have fun at the rink, you know, it's not every team that you feel comfortable. And for me, I really like the group of guys here.
I know that you touched upon this, but specifically once Johnny Merrill and Patrick Nemeth were traded, Gus Lindstrom and Dennis Chalowski came up. How do you look at the young defensive core, the young players? I know Hronek is pretty much established, but were you encouraged by what you saw?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I thought that was the right call to bring those guys up and give them some experience up. And you know, I always say, I think a forward, you can play younger, a D, and then usually it's the goalie last. So these guys need to play some games in the NHL and just get a feel of the game and how hard it is to play in this league. And you got to make sure that it's a long season, it's a grind, and I think that's the biggest adjustment that you got to do from the A or from junior.
I know that you play the toughest position and most important position on the ice, but do you give yourself a chance to maybe look at what the Red Wings have coming up? I mean, are you, if things work out here in Detroit, are you eager to see perhaps Mo Seider next year in the Red Wing lineup?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I mentioned, I think Raymond, I'm not sure if he'll be ready. Obviously, he's still young. Cider had a great year in Europe there, and to me, it's how how your team matured too. It's not you'll be lucky if those guys pan out to be unreal players, but it's more within your room now and see how guys want to work harder and get better every day. And I feel like we're doing that every day here. So I'm excited to see what next year brings.
All right, one final question for me. I do promise this is the final question, Jonathan, but and I've never asked a goalie this question before. I've asked a lot of skaters. Can you teach goal scoring, or is a goal scorer, is that just a natural talent, a natural ability? That because the Red Wings really struggle scoring goals, as you very well know, and Thomas Greiss very well knows, and I'm not knocking the team, but are 30 goal scorers, are they made or are they born, I guess is what I'm trying to ask you.
Tough question for me, but I would say they are born, but it's a really hard league, and to score 30, not too many guys can do it like McDavid, Matthews, and or Ovi, where they pick their spot on the ice and they score from there every single time, right? So a lot of guys have to go in the dirty area in front of net, and that's where most goals are scored, by tips or rebounds. So if guys are willing to do that, then they'll score more goals.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We'll be back shortly with Luke Glendenny.